Alex Bregman has signed a contract. He is off the free agent board. Red Sox fans are not very happy about this. We have a suspension to talk about, 80-game PED suspension. Edward Cabrera is on the move. The Yankees might be pivoting off of Cody Bellinger. And Kyle Tucker sweepstakes update. All of that on this episode of Warning Track Power. We'll jump right into that Edward Cabrera trade really fast. Edward Cabrera is now a Chicago Cub. The Marlins will be receiving Owen Casey, who is the Cubs' #1 prospect, in return, as well as 2 other prospects. Let's break this trade down. Edward Cabrera to the Cubs, that solidifies a good Cubs rotation. That should be one that is very fun to watch next season. They have Shota Imanaga, Edward Cabrera, Matthew Boyd, Colin Ray, Cade Horton, and some other depth pieces in that rotation could be very, very, very good down the stretch for those Chicago Cubs that are trying so desperately to go and win that division this year. On the Marlins side, they have got Owen Casey, who in his very short stint at the big league level showed signs of promise, and he will be solidifying a very, very good Marlins outfield, which is kind of sneaky for the Marlins to have such a good outfield at this point. You can go Jacob Marcy, Griffin Conine, and Owen Casey. That is a very, very good outfield, and I would not be surprised if the Marlins can increase on last season's win total with this addition. We have a suspension to talk about as well. Max Kepler, he is currently a free agent. He was a Philadelphia Philly last year, has been popped for PEDs, performance-enhancing drug, clomiphene. He tested positive for that. He will be suspended for 80 games if a team does choose to sign him. I'm going to give a little update on the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes this offseason. The #1 free agent on the board still has not signed, and there are 3 big teams that are in contention for him. It is the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays, whom he has already met with. Reports are saying he is looking for a higher AAV contract, but a shorter-term deal, like 3 or 4 years. And I think the best fit for Tucker is going to be the Mets at this point. I feel like, or the Dodgers rather. I feel like the Blue Jays have spent a lot of money this offseason. Their outfield is already pretty packed after they made a couple of moves and signed Kazuma Okamoto to play third base. So their infield is kind of messed around and very full and tight. I don't think the Kyle Tucker signing would make sense because then one of your outfielders would be forced to the bench, and I don't think you want Addison Barger or George Springer or Dalton Varsho. I don't think you want any of those guys, or Anthony Santander, going to the bench for Kyle Tucker. The Dodgers, as much as nobody wants to admit it, are a very good fit for this Kyle Tucker signing. They can afford this contract, and yes, they will probably defer some of the money because they're the Dodgers, and even though deferring money does not ruin baseball, it can sometimes be a little annoying. I think the Mets are probably the best fit, however, for Tucker. They really need some outfield help. They've shipped away some of their core players. You can maybe have Soto become a DH now. And really, if he's only looking for a 3 to 4 year contract, I don't think that this is too much of a stretch for the Mets to go out and spend on this guy. Now, I do think the Mets should target a Framber Valdez or a better starting pitcher to anchor a rotation that really is shaky if you look at it. Then again, you consult the Dodgers case for this, and you see that really they don't have a lot of outfield either. I mean, they have Teoscar Hernandez, they have Andy Pages. They had Michael Conforto last year. who really was not too spectacular for him. I mean, he's a 20 double guy. You gave him what you thought he would, but for Dodgers fans and the Dodgers that won the World Series, he really was not a big factor in that. Now, obviously, if Tucker does not work out for the Dodgers, one of the other people that they could target is Cody Bellinger. And reports are saying that the Yankees might be pivoting away from a Bellinger signing, as the Yankees have rumored to be offered Bellinger a 5-year, $150 million contract, and there is a gap between the Yankees and Bellinger, as Bellinger wants a 7-year contract with a little higher of an AV if possible, and for his last big contract, take him to the end of his career. Now, teams like the Dodgers and the Mets have also shown interest in Bellinger. And obviously, if either of these teams miss on Kyle Tucker, this could be a cheaper pivot, or maybe not. It could be way more expensive because of Tucker's likeliness to get a shorter term deal. Now, obviously, the Yankees do have some potential pivots. Could be a Kyle Tucker. I don't really see them going after him, though, due to Trent Grisham kind of messing up their whole offseason by accepting that qualifying offer. I really don't think they wanted Trent Grisham back. They just wanted a draft pick out of him, but they ended up with Trent Grisham anyway, so enjoy, Yankees fans. That being said, they could use that money to go towards a Bo Bichette, which, if you're a Yankees fan, you probably understand why you would want a Bo Bichette to anchor down that shortstop position, because Anthony Volpe was not good last year. And especially with his defense, Bichette is a defensive upgrade, and really, he's also a hitting upgrade as well. But enough about that, because Alex Bregman has signed a free agent contract, and it, in my eyes, is a massive overpay for Alex Bregman. It is a 5-year contract worth $175 million with the Chicago Cubs to play third base. There is $70 million deferred by the Chicago Cubs. There is a total AAV of $21 million for each year of this 5-year contract. I am not sure about the opt-outs. I don't believe there are any, which is weird for a Scott Boras client to not have any opt-outs in his contract. But what does this mean for Matt Shaw? Matt Shaw was the third baseman last year. Does he move to second base? Is he the DH? I'm not sure, because Bregman is obviously the defensive upgrade and the offensive upgrade from Matt Shaw. The veteran presence is wonderful. However, I don't really like the ballpark change for Alex Bregman. He goes from Fenway, which is a very, very hitter-friendly park for his swing, and Chicago is normally not very good for right-handed hitters. The ball doesn't really fly as well there. Maybe the Cubs are not done with this offseason. Maybe they are going to go after maybe a Willie Castro to just fill in that spot with a decent hitter, decent defender. It's not going to be very expensive, and I don't think it's fair to say anything more than decent for him. I mean, he's only had one season more than a 2 WAR. Back in 2023 with the Minnesota Twins was that last year. And I really do think Matt Shaw isn't off this team per se. I think this team will still be very good. I don't, however, know what the plan is with a few pieces, and we'll see. We'll see what this move makes. I do think it's an overpay, because I think it's $21 million a year with no opt-outs for 5 years is big to commit to for an Alex Bregman type player. But my biggest concern here is, what does this mean for Boston? Because as a Red Sox fan myself, I am very, very upset that we were not able to bring back Alex Bregman, and I'm even more upset that we couldn't match $175 million with 70 of those million deferred, when we had given Rafael Devers that big 11-year contract extension to be the face of our franchise, and then traded him for Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks and James Tibbs III, who, by the way, we traded for Dustin May, who I don't need to say anything about Dustin May because he was just bad with us. So what is happening with Boston right now? We missed on Bregman. We haven't made the big moves in the offseason. We're not really in the Tucker sweepstakes, and I wouldn't really expect us to be, given that we have a log jam of outfielders on the Red Sox and Duran and Yoshida and Anthony and Abreu and Rafaela. I don't think Breslow wants to trade one of them, even though he should. You can maybe get that number 2 starter, which might possibly save this offseason, or a Bo Bichette to play second base for us. That would legitimately save this offseason. You can have Marcelo Meyer come up and play third, which I do like as a move for that. I don't know if Campbell is especially ready yet for the major league level. If he is, great. If you think he is, great. If he performs well, great. But a Bo Bichette would be just wonderful. I don't know, like a 5-year, something like that kind of deal. Not an overpay. I don't think he gets as high as Bregman. Maybe 5-120, 5-130, something like that is pretty reasonable, I think, for Bo Bichette. That number 2 starter that could possibly save the season, I've thought about Joe Ryan. Get rid of Duran for Joe Ryan. Maybe a Freddie Peralta from the Brewers. He probably wouldn't take as much, as he is going to be a free agent after this coming season. A Cole Reagans from the Royals, who's looking to bounce back after a rather rough 2025 season here in 2026. And then obviously there's a world where this is just it for the Boston Red Sox, and I would be very, very discontent with this offseason. I guess that is a little unfair because I like the move for Sonny Gray, but I need that 2 starter. I don't think Sonny Gray is the 2 starter that we need. I think he's a 3 starter at best. And coming from the guy that struck out 201 hitters last year, that's pretty good for a 3 starter. Then again, he has the 4 ERA and the 3.65 FIP. And I really don't know how well that's going to translate to Fenway Park. Obviously, we will see. I do like the Wilson Contreras trade. The more and more I look at his numbers and his launch angles, the more and more I start to like him as a right-handed hitter in Fenway Park in a Red Sox lineup that is already very, very lefty heavy. So, any Red Sox fans in the comments, I'd like you guys to tell me what the heck is going on. Do you think we're done? Do you think we need to keep doing stuff? What move do you think we should make? All this stuff. If you're a Yankees fan, are you excited about the potential for Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette? Are you sad that you are possibly not going to be able to keep Bellinger? Any teams of fans that want Kyle Tucker you think is a great fit for your team? I'd love to hear about that in the comments. The Cubs, are you guys excited about this trade? Do you guys think you won this trade? Marlins fans, do you think you won this trade or vice versa? I love to hear this. And I will see you all next time for the second episode of Warning Track Power. Have a great day, everybody.